So next up is Edgar Geidans from FiveSky. He's the CDO and wireless and telecom executive. And as for every of our speakers, I did a little check on LinkedIn on your biography, and I found a long career in the telco industry.
Uh-oh. Okay.
No,
Yes.
didn't look so bad. And I understand that we're learning something about the smart city infrastructure right now. FiveSky has a very nice solution that helps supporting smart city applications. And
Good.
we're looking forward to
Let me
learning
tell you
about that
about
in detail.
Great. Thank you. So, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Edgar Geidans. I'm the CTO of FiveSky. We are a new startup, not quite as sexy as Professor Fettweis, but nevertheless, we're a startup, and I need to make an announcement that today we are coming out. For the first time, we are exposing ourselves to the industry, to my market peers, to my friends and new people I've met. So this is the first time we are going public. For a year and a half, we've been in stealth mode. So that's the announcement for today. First of all, thank you to Connect, Dirk and Hannes, for the opportunity to come here and present at short notice, but presenting as anyway. Also to the city of Dresden for always supporting the Connect conference. I've actually got a personal connection with Dresden for the last 20 years. Well, maybe not so nice. I've come here for 20 years to visit my Steuerberater. We have a property there on Radebeul, and anyway, so I've been coming here for 20 years, beautiful city, and it's nice to be here presenting. This is my third Connect now. So before I talk about the future, let me just go in a little bit into the past and tell you about me and why I am here and why I can be here talking about this. As Hannes mentioned, I've been in the telecommunications industry for 37 years. I started in Australia. Somebody said last night, you can't be Australian because I can understand what you're saying. So in Telecom Australia, I then moved from telecom, which was large voice networks back then, into data communications, which was then 9600 bits per second. Multiplexers connecting mainframes over E1 high-speed 2 megabit links to multiplexing green screens. Today we call that the cloud, I think, is these mainframes. So voice and data networks, we've had to transform. We did some of the earliest UTP structured cabling as we were moving from circuit to packet in Australia at that time. That was 87, 88, 89. I guess more importantly, I've spent the last 25 years in the wireless industry building, deploying, buying and selling wireless networks internationally. I've worked for a Seattle-based company. We were building networks in Latvia. During '98 is when I started with them. We built a greenfield network in Slovenia. If you're familiar with Croatia on your summer holidays, you might have logged onto the VIPNet Croatia that belonged to us. We purchased the Telering network from Mannesmann in 2001, which is when I met Mr. Hartmut Kremling, not here. And so I've been in the wireless industry. I've been doing nothing but transforming from 2G to 3G. WiMAX, before LTE was a main product, then 4G and 5G. I finished up after 25 years and we sold our last mobile network in New Zealand. That was the 5G network, and then the American company I worked for, who were entrepreneurs, decided to play golf. So that's not a problem. With my experience, I would like to now talk to you about using that experience in a product which is addressing many facets of what we are experiencing in the industry today. Somebody actually said it looks more like a Swiss Army knife than a piece of smart city infrastructure. FiveSky, we're a year and a half old. Our founder is Mr. Wolf Hisserich, his ex-Deutsche Telekom innovations area, myself, and a COO based in Luxembourg. We're spread out everywhere. Company is based and registered in Netherlands for startup purposes. They seem to be startup friendly. Okay, so I've told you about the history. I've told you who we are. Let's look at some of the challenges that came for us to create what we will present to you here shortly. The municipalities and councils have really grown up back when I was deploying networks in 98 and 99, you could say, I'm an infrastructure guy, you let me onto the roof, here's my paperwork, you get sometimes you got the Balganemi going automatically, sometimes you didn't, but you built the site because it was infrastructure for everybody. Now, after 20 years of putting these ugly antennas with cables and masts on top of buildings, the municipalities are saying, that's not a good thing, we don't like that for our people, it's got to start looking good, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Subscribers, customers continue this data volume. We talked about a hockey stick when we were deploying 4G and 4G networks. This hockey stick continues in data growth. Cellular network requires the densification to keep up with that data growth. We have to keep adding coverage. I've heard now for 2 days, black spots, white spots, holes everywhere. How can you have a vehicle V2X experience when there is a hole in the Autobahn that I was driving on last week, the A1 to Bremerhaven, and there is a 3-minute gap, 3 days, maybe it was an outage. 3 days later, I drove back, that hole is still there. On the Autobahn, how can my vehicle V2X upload data? Not even autonomous driving, just data. MNOs, we've seen and we heard in Barcelona that the network operators are under huge financial duress, such that in Barcelona this year, somebody said, we've got a 10-year glide path. If the industry doesn't change and the dynamics of my business don't change, we're on a 10-year glide path in the wrong direction. So they are focused, like razor-sharp focus on their finances. They promised us, Huawei, Nortel, all of the big guys, they promised us with 5G, we are going to be rich. All these use cases, we're going to be successful as a mobile network operator. Didn't quite happen. The 5G use case, the whole ecosystem to enable that is taking its time. Maybe ORAN or Open RAN will be the catalyst for that change. We all hope so. MEC is yet to mature. We've been speaking about mobile edge computing or multi-access edge computing. We've been talking about this. It's not happening. And guess what? The mobile network operators today are just going to the big 2, or maybe the big 3. Yeah, the IBMs, the Microsofts, and the Amazons. Oh, you do the MEC strategy for me right at the far edge with whatever that feature was that Amazon has. The data center guys are under pressure, and this is the Swiss Army knife part of this whole discussion. So it's touching all these elements. The data center guys realize that they need to move to the edge. They need to move to the edge for the edge processing, for video, for gaming, to take advantage of low latency that 5G is supposed to bring. But they can no longer build some mega data centers in France because they do not have energy. So they realize, both for applications and processes, they need to move to the edge. And thrown in there, we have classic advertising. You have the big boys, JC Decaux, and we have Ströer here in Germany. They control the market. But the users are getting used to digital advertising. No longer paper on a string that you need to do a truck roll. That's not very green. You need to swap the paper out, throw it away for these advertising. So we're getting used to digital advertising. And of course, CapEx and OpEx models need to be equitable for all players. Oops, one too many. So I think we all understand the drivers. We're all industry experts here. The drivers, the metaverse, we haven't even started to see the impact on our networks that metaverse will bring. It's in its infancy. It's still being created, getting adopted by companies or not, yet to be seen. That's a data driver. AR, VR, huge amounts of video and real-time signal processing. Mobile gaming. Enterprise 5G is a huge, big one. If the mobile operators don't start getting their time to market and their speed going, they will be left behind because these enterprise 5G companies or third parties are going to come in and start building some private networks. Spectrum's a problem, which was my question this morning to Telefonica, how they handle that with Spectrum or building their 5G network. So there is an opportunity there for huge amounts of growth. We still have data-hungry customers. Autonomous transport, we've heard about this morning. All of this is just contributing to loads of data and loads of connectivity. nothing is going to happen unless we have connectivity and coverage, whether it's a cell site having connectivity or whether it's an end-user device. So we can talk about all of this, but unless we have the connectivity, it's not going to happen. So let me look at some possible solutions. The municipalities will no longer say, sure, just go and put up a big, ugly steel tower here in my backyard. They're not going to accept that anymore. I was happy to hear from Vantage Towers yesterday that they're putting up a beautiful wooden tower. Still looks like a tower, but it's a beautiful wooden tower, has a nice sustainability story, and they worked with the communities. I've been working personally with communities since '98 in building cell sites. We had a frame agreement in Slovenia. Greenfield had to quickly launch our network. We had a frame agreement with the Catholic Church, very strong in Slovenia, and they were happy to receive. And we were installing antennas in the churches behind the wooden louvers, camouflage. 2001, we were doing that. So they were happy to receive the money. We were using camouflage techniques or behind wooden in the bell towers, and we had coverage in the center of every village. We launched in 1 year, Greenfield Mobile Network. They need to be visually acceptable. Lamp pole sites are a direction that the market is going. Lamp pole sites don't have much room for legacy equipment, so somewhere there still needs to be a grey box for either legacy or ORAN, or is it Open RAN? One of it. We need to support Open RAN, so there is a market direction to go down that path. Perhaps maybe it gets traction, maybe it doesn't. We'll soon find out in 5 or 6 years. But we need to make space for this technology that needs to be there. Having participated in the Smart City Infrastructure conference in November last year in Barcelona, there is an entire industry around smart cities, what each municipality is doing. Air quality, sensors, infringements. I can make some money if I can just detect that there is a motorcycle in the bike lane. Somebody else can implement it. I'll do a revenue share. They're open to revenue sharing now. They're much more creative than they were years ago when they said, no, we're just a public institution or a public utility. So there's new revenue streams there because I think we're maturing into revenue share. It's becoming much more acceptable as a business model between businesses and public. It needs to support multiple technologies. One thing is having a site somewhere just for 4G or 5G. Now what about all the IoT sensors? I was in Ljubljana 3 weeks ago and they actually have an in-city Wi-Fi network, a Muni Wi-Fi. So as a tourist, I can turn up, log on, use the internet for free. They've realized that having tourists doing stuff in our city is good. Then they can start advertising revenues or landing pages, sponsored. That's how they make their business. So we need to support multiple technologies. Somehow we need to enable the service providers to get out to the edge. I would like to think that the tower companies, the Phoenixes, the American Tower, the Vantage Tower, they should be all over these guys saying, come and put your equipment in my cell sites. Haven't heard it yet, and I know the CEO of Phoenix Tower quite well because we sold 2 of our network's tower assets to Phoenix Tower in America, and Phoenix are now getting a footprint here in Europe. And I heard just on the previous speaker that off-the-shelf bare metal is the way that ORAN will keep our costs down. So we either need to have space or we need to have bare metal servers which can host anything that needs to be hosted at the far edge. And lastly, there is no longer do security cameras have a function of just security and public safety. That's old school. That's for the police. Okay, in Europe or Germany, there's a GDPR issue. Can you use people's faces? Can you capture people's faces on a camera? Or can it be, is it acceptable in the future that can be anonymized? But all the councils and the security guys want computer vision so that we can collect analytics, collect data. We heard that from Professor Fettweis. It's all about collecting information and collecting data. And a standard or a high-quality Bosch or Axis camera can use AI and ML techniques. They have a whole ecosystem around that to capture analytics, and that becomes a bankable revenue stream. So this is all about multiple revenue streams as you look at this. So we've created a structure that's trying to tick as many of these boxes as possible. One is as a technical solution. One is as a revenue stream for us in our future business. Again, we're only a year and a half old. This has only just been installed and launched down in the Czech Republic as of about 6 weeks ago, and you'll see the video shortly. So, towards the top of our smart city structure, we have public lighting and cameras for the analytics, as I just mentioned. Neutral space for antennas. It's very low tech. It's a pole that we just happen to hide so that no one can see antennas and cables. It's a very high-tech pole. On that pole, you can mount any antenna, any Wi-Fi, any IoT sensors, etc., hidden from the public view in order to keep the municipalities and the public happy. Less visual pollution. Public information, I think for us that's a revenue stream. It's an opportunity to also allow councils and municipalities to provide public information, whereas the local COVID test centre, maybe we give them 10 minutes an hour to do internal advertising. This weekend there's a Flohmarkt in downtown Dresden, something like that. So it's all about cooperation and partnerships, whereas previously, this is my realm, that's yours, and I'm going to do it. That's gone. And almost every presenter today and yesterday has talked about these partnerships. We can't do it alone. That's not the way we do things anymore. Of course, we still have a lot of legacy equipment coming from the Nortels and Nokias and Huaweis and ZTEs. Maybe some equipment will be relocated, some will be new, or it will be O-RAN. Enabling the far edge data centers to go into a space for various processing, to run up a virtual machine, to have your Kubernetes, to have a Red Hat stack there, ready for orchestration, ready for the virtualization, whether it be for the actual radio service or whether it be for a series of applications required right there at the far edge of the network. And of course, security. I mean, all of the mobile networks that I've worked for in the last 25 years, we were always a tier 2, tier 3 with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And if somebody like us, if the Yahoos of the world can't even keep their cybersecurity under control and they have hacks, etc., what hope does a small tier 3 or even a tier 4 network in Africa, what hope can they have of not getting hacked or intruded somehow? So looking forward, security has to be actually right at the very top. Sustainability is important with our energy and all of those good things, but security, if we don't get it secure, again, Professor Fettweis is working in that direction to make everything as safe as possible, because this is a piece of public infrastructure. And within our structure, we've got a myriad of sensors for temperature and weather and alarms. The cameras can detect that somebody is goofing around down here. We can speak to them. The AI will say there's a person goofing around. It will come up to a screen of your security guy. He doesn't even have to look at screens. It'll be presented to him by the AI ML engine. We'll say there's a guy goofing around here at the site. Go and take a look and see what they're up to. Yeah, so that's this automation that needs to come. That's the whole benefit of AI outside of scary ChatGPT. Okay, so we've surrounded ourselves with ecosystem partners. We've chosen some nice European-based cameras. We have a topology partner from France who are leading the way in topology planning. I don't need to tell a mobile operator how to plan radio networks. I've done that. However, we have a partner that can support us and do reverse radio plan engineering to say, if we have a site here authorized by the council, because that's where the council want it, what is the impact? How many subscribers can you capture, Mr. Mobile Operator? With that data, we can go to them and try to sell our service. Accentria there, a Seattle-based company on sensors, very strong in remote monitoring, remote control. In the cyber, an Italian company who we will, at the right time, because we're only young, we're only a year and a half old and coming out today, who will be auditing us for our physical security, auditing us for our bare metal security, if and when we go into providing bare metal services, perhaps day one, just a simple rack, we don't get into it, it's ready for the customer to load, or in the future, if we partner with somebody, we're talking to a company called Open Nebula who do have this complete edge cloud stack. We want somebody independently to make sure that this is secure. So we have an audit company lined up. HP, we're an HP partner. On the design side, our design company is in the Czech Republic. We use SolidWorks, which is the world-leading 3D CAD software. I think they even built all of the Boeing aeroplanes on the Dassault Systems CAD. I think you all know Annexter, providers of cables and all sorts of myriad of equipment. And strangely enough, we chose an LTEC rec diverter and a Polarium battery combination. We did that independently. That gives battery backup to anything that we install into this structure. Happened to be the same equipment that 1&1 and Dish Network use. So I was sort of happy with our decision there from an engineering viewpoint. So that's our ecosystem partners. I will show you two very short videos. That will be the end of my presentation. What I'm showing you here is the actual tower structure that is live and well, 30 minutes south of the Czech Republic. You're all invited to come and take a look if there is something there for us to enter into it or to talk about. So with that, I'll leave you with the videos, and here we go. So that was the engineering version. So now I'll show you the marketing version. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you, Connect, for the opportunity, and we are out.
Thank you, Edgar.
Right, thank you.
So this was not least an impressive demonstration of what video editing can do.
Thank you.
Do we have questions for Edgar?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, one key takeaway of those 2 days for me is that cell sites are going to look a lot nicer in the future. And this is a good takeaway, I would say. We have a question here in the front. Yeah.
Question from my side.
Just wait a moment. Wait a moment for the microphone. Why we're insisting on the microphones, by the way, this is a good thing to say at the last session of 2 days, is that we need the signal for the streaming and for the recording as well. So.
Okay, so once again, you mentioned the appeal as one of the challenges. Now, when you look at cities, there's like various types of structures. There are many different design principles. In how far is your setup flexible for in-building into different designs?
Okay. It is modular. Each of these is not interchangeable, but certainly a modular section. We made sure for transport that it was in 4 pieces. That keeps the transport costs down, not one great big Grovian blade that you see. We can actually, in the event of an ORAN only or a Wi-Fi only type or an IoT only type solution, we could put 2 LED displays. So the height is adjustable depending on the application. We have full control over that design. That's ours. If somebody says, look, really needs to be 30 centimeters shorter, we log on and we make it 30 centimeters shorter. Yeah, at the manufacturing, that's not a problem at all. So we have been talking to some large international shopping mall companies, both with outside restaurant type areas and indoor coverage requirements. We have been talking to UK-based municipalities and councils. We've had some reasonable traction. Our angel investor has been good to us, and we can probably live until December, and we're in mature talks for our A round. So we all hope that the A round allows us to then scale and get some people on board to take this to the next level, both from marketing and sales perspective, obviously. So yes, the answer is we've already looked at making it shorter for an internal shopping center type environment where their focus was internal Wi-Fi, 5G if you can get a mobile operator engaged, and advertising where they have full control of the advertising.
Excellent, thank you very much. So next up is our panel discussion, which Edgar will also take part of. So you will still have an opportunity to ask him some questions. I think we need a couple of minutes